This red-headed chubby boy is just a shy guy who is unfairly bullied and beaten by his friends, and his parents can't help him, so an unexpected meeting with an old man becomes a turning point in his life. Will Jimmy be able to take the chance and protect himself and his friends? 3 shaven-headed boys walk through the school looking for a victim to bully. Their peers avert their eyes and stay away from the group. The leader of the bullies, Miles, knocks the textbooks out of the hands of a red-headed fat boy. The boy looks them straight in the eyes. "You are looking at fat boy Jimmy," who is encouraged by his friends Andy and Bobby, but it does little good. The hero grimly wanders the streets, and as soon as he gets home, he immediately eats a cookie to relieve stress. His mother asks the boy if he's doing well, and though his tone of voice betrays his feelings, he admits nothing over a video call. His friends try to console Jimmy again. They highlight his good qualities, saying that his bullies don't have a sense of humor or intelligence. The guy, however, only focuses on how fat he is. They invite him to come over, but he refuses and stays home. It's easier for him to lock himself away and bury his head in the sand. Jimmy meets his father at dinner. He works the night shifts and rarely sees his son except at dinner. The father asks the boy about his romantic affairs, but the insecure teen thinks no one can like him. The father also tries to encourage his son, but to no avail. Jimmy only becomes more troubled by his failures and eats sweets again. The next day, when the 3 friends meet on their way to school, while they're lightheartedly messing around, they're stopped by the already familiar bullies. The feminine Bobby runs right away, and Andy is pushed aside so the fat boy can be bullied face to face. They threaten him with violence and extort money, a hefty sum of $100. The threat's in for now, and Jimmy is left to figure out how he will repay his debt. In class, Miles is making fun of Bobby, hinting that he is different from the other guys at recess. Jimmy comforts his friend and suggests that they go out for a meal together. After all, it's the best way to achieve happiness and solve one's problems. In the cafeteria, Andy and Bobby tell Jimmy that a certain girl has been checking him out and that Adrian is smart and sweet, though she prefers a dark gothic style of dress. Then Miles bothers the boys again, and this time Jimmy no longer stays silent. "I'm not giving you anything." But just as Miles is about to respond to such insolence from a black guy, his big older brother intervenes for Jimmy. Once Miles meets someone larger than himself, he takes to his heels. But the joy of success did not last long. On the way home, Miles and his friend catch up with Jimmy in a car, and the teenager tries to stand up for himself again, but now he is alone and not ready to fight at all. When he sees this, he immediately intervenes and scares the bully away despite his threats and insults, and after examining Jimmy's split eyebrow, he invites him to his house to stop the bleeding. Jimmy downplays the magnitude of the problem and wants to hide at home again, but the old man manages to convince him. They enter a garage with pictures of a young man in the ring wearing boxing gloves hanging on the walls. This is Clarence Jackson, nicknamed Action, a former professional heavyweight boxer. He knows a thing or two about fighting and how to stand up for himself. Jimmy gets his hopes up and has to be taught how to box, but Action is old, so he suggests another trainer, while he himself will take the boy under his wing and mentor him, with his parents' permission. Action gives Jimmy a ride home to meet them, but they don't really trust the stranger yet and are more worried about their son's health. The very next day, Jimmy's family visits Clarence to get his assistance, and they go to the gym where Action's old friend, the charismatic Mexican Manny, trains boxers, and when he sees whom his old friend has brought, he's not thrilled and doubts that it was a good idea to bring a guy like that into the gym. "You mean a white kid?" Eventually, Manny agrees that Jimmy really does need help and takes the job for the first training session before the class begins. He warns the kid, "Don't look for trouble. Use the skills you've learned only to protect yourself." Manny explains to the kid that even though the extra weight is certainly worth losing, it is not always a disadvantage in a fight. Some champions were heavier than others. George Foreman, for example, who has used his traits skillfully to land particularly powerful punches, takes Jimmy to the gym for every training session and watches his workouts closely from the sidelines so that he can share his invaluable experience. Jimmy and his mentor wonder what to do about the bully Miles. Paying him is not an option because this way, the extortion and bullying will continue on a regular basis while the beginner boxer still has a little skill. Jimmy will have to think of something to postpone the fight, so he leads the bully by the nose and promises to give him 200 instead of 100, but only in a month. This way, the conflict will be inevitable, and the risk will increase, which doesn't make the boy very happy in the morning. Jimmy's problems only multiply as literally, his whole body hurts from working out, and Action and Andy both chuckle at the fat kid who is not used to this kind of workout and who is limping his way to school. "Oh, dude, you got to take it easy." Later that day, they make a deal to get the bully off of his back for at least a couple of weeks. At practice, Manny is not happy with the boy. He's not giving his best, and there are lots of kids on the streets from much less fortunate families who would like to train in the gym. Instead, Action wants to motivate the teenager and asks what's the matter, where's the fever come from? Jimmy again tries to avoid answering. Eventually, the boy does share his doubts with his mentor. He doesn't see any progress and doesn't believe in himself. Because after all his effort, Miles might still be stronger. But the Action doesn't scold the teenager. He clearly needs time and support. Later that night, Jimmy has another word with his father before he leaves for his night job again. The two fat men sit at the dinner table. The dad also sees that his son is tired and depressed and says that he shouldn't take up his time if he's not sure he wants to keep working hard. The father regrets that he couldn't teach his son to stand up for himself, for he too was not taught that when he was young. If you stick with this, you can teach your kids someday, and they won't have to go through what you're going through. The next morning, Miles meets the bullies at the school entrance again and reminds them of the deal. He threatens Andy and Bobby after school. He takes his bicycle and rides to the gym ahead of time without waiting for his old mentor Jimmy, who is determined. Later, in the heat of practice, the old boxer accidentally punches Manny in the jaw, resulting in the first knockdown of his career. The old boxer laughs and appreciates the guy's enthusiasm. Jimmy meets other athletes and trains hard. The days in the gym fly by, as 2 weeks pass and Miles demands the promised money, but Jimmy manages to keep his cool and gets himself another week. Andy sees that his friend's behavior has changed and wonders what's going on. Jimmy tells his surprised friend that he is boxing under the guidance of real pros and if he achieves his goal, he would even risk trying his luck with a girl. He tells Adrian he would love to hook up, but Adrian says, "You have to ask me out on a date first, Jimmy?" Again a lucky slip that turns out to be appreciated. The girl offers to go together to a big party at her friend's house. Already our hero is about to go on his first date. The parents are shocked again, their harmless and quiet son is growing up. Adrian arrives at Jimmy's house and meets his parents. Jimmy invites Adrian out for some fresh air. Adrian notes that Jamie is eating better and has lost weight. "I could stand to lose a few pounds myself." There is a spark between them, but the first kiss is interrupted by one of Miles' sidekicks, Eddie. Jimmy allows himself to get angry and boldly tells the bully to go screw himself. The rest of the evening goes great, and Jimmy happily returns home. Action also learns something new from Jimmy and tries using a cell phone. The boy calls, and this time he asks Action to give him and his girlfriend a ride to the gym. Adrian is pleasantly surprised to find out that the guy is boxing. She thought he was just losing weight on the treadmill. At the gym, Manny introduces Adrian to Rosie, a female boxer who fights with men, knocking out yet another guy while sparring. This impresses Adrian. Maybe she'll join Jimmy in his new hobby. The guy comes to the gym even on his days off, and Manny scares him a bit by offering to spar with a powerful opponent. Action also peeks into the gym, but already in the elegant suit he wears to church. You should have seen the look on Jimmy's face when he thought he was going to have to spawn with Marvin. The old boxers reminisce about their youth watching Jimmy's progress. Manny invites another of his acquaintances to teach the boy mixed martial arts techniques where elbows and knees are used in addition to fists. After all, Jimmy's future opponent is unlikely to act according to the ring rule book, which means you have to be prepared for that as well. A new day arrives, and Miles is demanding money again. He will not wait another day from the sidelines. Tough guy Vinny is watching the teenagers' conflict. He supports Jimmy and will be ready to help if anything happens. They have no idea that their conversation is overheard by Miles' friend Eddie, who immediately reports that the fat boy has lied and is not going to pay. Then the bullies involve Billy, the crazy big guy they know as Glass Jaw, to beat Jimmy up for them. The hero tells Adrian everything, and the girl senses something is wrong. She's worried that too many people know about the upcoming fight and something could go wrong. Manny reassures her over the phone that everything will be alright as Jimmy is no longer alone and his friends will come to his aid if anything happens. Fortunately, he quickly learns of Miles' plan to fight dirty and also involves his Italian mobster acquaintances, who catch Billy Glassjaw on his way to school and hold him captive in their car. Now Miles has no choice but to fight himself. Well, it's time to teach the cocky fatty a lesson. Jimmy falls down again from the first quick punch, but his stamina training hasn't been in vain, and he gets up, remembering his training. He forces his opponent to miss and counterattack, and now Miles is lying on the grass, unable to endure such humiliations. He orders his buddies to intervene, and the three of them lunge at Jimmy, but then Andy and Bobby too can't stand by any longer. It turns out that Bobby has a great left hook. Jimmy, in turn, throws a couple more accurate punches and demands that Miles leaves alone not only him and his friends but anyone who can't stand up for themselves. The moment Jimmy's been waiting for has arrived, and all of his efforts have not been in vain. Jimmy is not the only one in the world who has suffered from bullying, and his example can inspire a lot of people. His parents are worried but proud of their son, and as for Jimmy and his friends, they can finally walk around school with their heads up.